This might be difficult for you guys to handle, but this channel's going through some real physical changes. Changes that are going to influence the appearance of this channel and the way my channel is perceived to you guys. I got some new lights. It's got nothing to do with my appearance or beard or anything like that. No. My new lights. What do you guys think? Cool? You like them? I like them. I think they're cool. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Nothing else. There's no other changes going on. Don't worry. Let's get into it. So today I want to teach you guys, in case you guys don't know, I have started one-on-one online editing sessions, coaching sessions for you guys. I've started doing them. They're not a cash grab or a way for me to make more money. They're a way for me to learn how to teach you guys a little bit better, learn one-on-one what you guys actually want to know, and get a little bit of feedback on my teaching style. From what I've been told, I move a little bit too fast. So I really want to learn how to teach you guys, learn how to do it better, and eventually down the line, develop a full workshop or course for Photoshop that you guys can then buy and have everything in the one place that you guys can learn Photoshop from start to finish. But until then, I'm going to keep doing these one-on-ones. I really enjoyed my first few that I had yesterday. I had one with Sterling Gali and we learned all about masking, and it was something that I haven't actually thought about teaching on YouTube because it was something that was seemed like something I learned so long ago that I haven't even considered it being something I should teach. But after that session, after everything we talked through, after everything we went through, I realized that masking a subject is something that you guys, A, don't even know where to begin with, and 2, don't know the circumstances that you should use it in. So today's video is going to be quick, short, snappy, like you like it, Friday special, and we're going to get into how I mask subjects, specifically talking about the shark in this photo here. Okay, so there's 3 techniques that I'm going to be teaching you how to mask with. The thing with masking in Photoshop is 9 times out of 10, actually no, 100% of the time, if you're doing any coloring, if you're using Photoshop for any reason at all, you should be using layer masks and masking. When I refer to masking, I'm talking about actually cutting out an object. And when I refer to layer masks, I'm talking about the actual layer mask that you add to an object, just to differentiate between the two. As much as you're using Photoshop, you should always be using layer masks, just to keep your edits customizable and to also allow you to fine tune your edits. I'm going to show you guys a really good quick tip at the end of this video that you guys can use to start blending your objects a little bit more. But I'm going to jump into Photoshop and show you guys a few techniques. So this is the object that we're going to be cutting out. This is the shark from my shark edit from this one here. The first technique I'm going to show you is using the magic wand or the quick selection tool. So the first one, the magic wand tool, you've got to make sure that you don't have this option selected up here. By default, Photoshop is going to have that option selected. So you want to go and hit this option here, and what that'll allow you to do is to continue to make selections. If I turn this off and I go over to this option here, you'll notice that when I click, each time I click, it makes a new selection and deletes my previous. So what I want to do here is make sure that this is selected and go ahead and mask. And what you notice straight away is this is probably a very good option for masking a subject. This is quite a clear, contrasty subject. There's a clear distinction between the subject and the background, and the subject and the background don't share too much of the same colors, so it's quite easy. But if I was to go down to this little fish over here and mask him out, it's impossible. If I go up to these guys over here, it might be a little bit easier. There we go, not possible either. So you want to use this for objects that have clear contrast between the foreground and the background. The second option here is the quick selection tool. Now this is the same as the magic wand tool, except it doesn't use color sampling, it uses boundaries. So here it's trying to stay within those boundaries that Photoshop can detect. Now again, this is quite a good option for this edit. Wouldn't pick it 9 times out of 10, but for this example, maybe it'll work. The next option is using select and mask. If you've been on Photoshop on YouTube for any amount of time, select and mask seems to be a personal favorite of a lot of YouTubers. So what they do here is they'll go up to select, they'll go down to select and mask, and then they'll make their selection using these tools over here. This first one works exactly the same way. Well, it is the quick selection tool. So as you can imagine, it makes selections by detecting where the boundaries are. Again, good for this example, but not something that I would use often. The second option is the refining edge tool, and that would be used for things like trees, hair, fine details. For this particular example, I would use it to refine edges of your subject. And the third one is just the brush tool, and that can be used the same way that your paintbrush would be used. This is probably my favorite of the three options because it is completely manual and done with complete control. And the third and final option, and my favorite option that takes the absolute longest out of the three, that's something you should always consider when using Photoshop, is the options that are going to take the longest usually yield the best results. So the first option is something that's going to be super quick, super efficient, but yield the worst results. The second option is a little bit more manual, takes a little bit longer and yields better results. But the third option takes the longest, but definitely yields by far the best results. And the way that works is you're going to use the pen tool. So you're going to go over to this guy over here, click down here, and you're just going to make your selections. Now the benefit of the pen tool is you've got the ability to curve your edges and create an exact trace of your subject completely manually. Now the way you make these circles or these curved edges is if I go over here to this blank spot over here and I try to make an exact circle just by clicking, notice what happens. Those edges are sharp and there's no bend to the edges. But if I was to go over here and click and drag and then click and drag, you'll notice that that begins to make some curved edges, and I have a much better chance of being able to make an exact cut. So the way you do that for your subject is you just pick a starting point, and it doesn't matter where you start. You click and drag and you make a trace of your subject. Now I know this obviously takes a while, this does take a long time, but it is so much better than any of the other options because it's completely manual and there is no automation from Photoshop, which means that the decisions that you make are going to be the decisions that Photoshop processes, and it's going to be an exact copy of what you're trying to create. As much as you can afford to, try and let Photoshop do as little as possible automatically, unless it's things like clone stamping or anything like that. For time's sake, I'm not going to make a selection of the entire shark, but say for example that this was the selection. I'm just going to quickly go with the clone, with the pen tool around, blah, 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 bang, bang. Now imagine that's a perfect selection of the shark and it didn't take me 30 seconds. So what I want to do now is I'm going to right click. I'm going to go down to make selection. That'll bring up my option over here. I want to make sure my feather radius is at 0 because we can change that later. And then we're going to click OK. From there, you're going to have your marching ants appear. From here, you're going to go down to the mask tool or layer mask tool, and you're going to click layer mask, and that'll make a selection of your subject. Here's a mask I prepared earlier. This mask is for my shark underwater edit. So this is the original mask, and then this is the final product. Now say I want to refine this edge. If I want to go back and make some changes to my mask after I've already created the mask, well, what you can do here is you can go over to your mask tool, make sure you're selected on the actual mask. You're going to right click and then go down to select and mask. What that'll do is that'll bring up your select and mask options, but only focusing on the mask that you've already created. From there you can go over to the feather options. What I like to do personally is I like to bring my feather up slightly, and then I like to bring my contrast up to create more of a natural fall off in the image from the edges. When you make your selection, the fall off can be quite harsh and unnatural. By doing this, it's just going to make it that tiny bit more natural and make it look okay. I've already done that for this image, so I'm going to cancel that, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to turn all these layers back on. Now for that bonus tip that you guys have been waiting for, how I blended this shark in with this image. This is a tip that you can start using in portraits, landscapes, anything really, anything that involves masks. This is a huge tip that you can start using, and it's something that I haven't actually seen all that much of. So if you guys want to use it, start using it. It's something that I don't see a lot of. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to hit right click on my mask. I'm going to go down to add mask to selection. That'll bring back my marching ants. I'm then going to go all the way down to my original background layer. I'm going to hit on the background layer, make sure it's selected, and make sure it's on a rasterized layer. I'm going to hit Command C and Command V, or copy and paste. What that'll do is that'll create a perfect cutout of the shark from the background layer. Now you're probably wondering, what the hell, Tom? What's this for? What you're going to do is you're going to drag that over the top of your shark, and that should make your shark disappear. Now, what you're gonna do now to bring that shark back is you're gonna go over to your blending options. You're gonna change it from normal to soft light, and bang. From just that one change, you've gone from this to this. Blending that shark in just a little bit more and adding that hint of color that's going to make it look a lot more natural. So yeah, that was masking out your subject at a very, very basic level. We didn't go into crazy depth about how I mask out portraits or anything like that, but I think this is a little tip that you guys can begin to use straight away in Photoshop. Like I said in the beginning, if you're at all using Photoshop for anything, as often as you can, use masks. Cut out your subjects, because like I just showed you then with that last little tip, if I didn't have that mask, there's no way I could cut out that shark, or it's going to take me a lot longer. So it just makes blending easier. It makes everything so much easier once you get over that hurdle of creating masks. Like I said in the beginning, I am doing one-on-one editing sessions. It's for me to learn how to teach you guys a little bit better. And again, it's already made such a difference. Like I also said, I'm going to be coming out with a full Photoshop workshop. So if you are interested in getting a little bit of the content before it even comes out, my one-on-one coaching is going to be just about as close as you can possibly get to that. So if you want that, I'm going to have a link in the description below that you guys can email me to, and we'll have a chat about booking you in. But if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed any of my videos, I would really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. But as always, it's entirely up to you, and I'll see you guys next time.